uncertainty we have, job security, everything is changing. How do we homeschool our kids? Working from home, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be. We're isolated. We have elderly parents. Things. But as you've heard, I think in Jay last week, shared in his Life is Beautiful. This has given us an opportunity to sort of, recalibrate where our life is, and that has clearly been something I've done, and that's what I'm going to share today. Ideas and thoughts I've had throughout my life, but I think that are becoming much more clear because of what's happened these last 3 months. So let me, I guess, as I fast forward, a few things about, how I see this whole COVID situation. Why we've seen all of these emotions come up, I believe, is really because of uncertainty. We have so much uncertainty about COVID, job insecurity, our children, the colleges they're in. Will there be a treatment? Should we leave the house? Should we not leave the house? We're creatures where we like certainty and organization. That's how, when we are, know what's going to happen, and we know if we do this, this may happen, that decreases anxiety and stress. But when we have uncertainty, that's where anxiety and stress emerge. So this is normal. We should be a little bit anxious, stressed. We don't have a treatment. I don't think just getting a treatment, like we get a vaccine, now, this pandemic, this viral pandemic, will be taken. Yes, we'll have some ease, but I think will convert, and we are certainly seeing this on the medical side. You're all seeing this in the news and all. We may have a mental health pandemic. We are going to change forever. The world is going to change. I'm going to share why I think it's going to change for the better. So, if we use the analogy, okay, the viral pandemic, if we get a vaccine, treatments, medicines, we'll probably, just like the flu and other illnesses, we will be able to contain the coronavirus. But how do we take care of the mental well-being or mental health pandemic? Well, I say we already have that vaccine for the mental health, and that's going to be what I'm going to share. There are two things in my mind that I've thought before, but this pandemic has brought more clarity to my mind. And I really feel even more stronger that the two mental health, mental well-being vaccines already exist. And what they are is altruism and interpersonal connection. So again, I'm going to break that down. Those are words that, you think, oh, do I have to go to a seminar, altruism, connection, and I have to meditate every day. I'm going to break this down into, if you do something about 30 seconds every day, I feel within a week, you will start seeing transformations in your life. So again, coming back to, my evolution, I've always been curious in, people who are deep thinkers, like, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins. Just recently, as we're all walking more, listening to our, YouTubes and podcasts, listening to Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs. I mean, people that what made them tick? These two things I just shared, I think from A to Z can help an individual in whatever area of goals they have or work. Altruism and interpersonal connection. If in our group today was Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Dalai Lama, these things I'm going to bring up, I think that they would appreciate, and they would say, yes, above, I'm doing those things. But if I add what you're conveying, the richness of what I'm doing may go to another level. So with that as a little bit of a backdrop, I'm going to focus on, how those two things, we can conceptualize those in our day-to-day life. And so this doesn't mean who we are as a person. Every one of us, we've got 80 participants right now. Every one of us is unique, has a different dynamic, responds differently. Anger or agitated toward maybe our spouse, our kids, our parents, our neighbors, our co. That's okay. The goal of life is not to say, I cannot be angry. I must always be calm. I must always reflect. There may be some people who can do that, but let's be real. We must embrace who we are as a person. You just don't change by going to a meditation seminar or listen to 30 sessions of a YouTube from Deepak Chopra, and now I'm a new person. No, your core is who you are. Embrace that. Do not fight that. Don't beat yourself if you find yourself, I got angry again at my child. They didn't make their bed. They didn't study. I'm disappointed. Don't fight that. Do not beat yourself. You are who you are, but I'm going to share how the perspective of that, that may change with these two features I just mentioned. So again, that is a thing. And I think that happens so often. I know it happens to myself. I'll listen to some well-being seminar or some guru. We get this great speaker coming from India that just has a fascinating story. He comes to the mandir, shares this story, and we're fascinated by it. But we find ourselves, coming back to who we are, our basic characteristics and personality. So that's one theme. Do not fight who we are. Appreciate it. Every one of us is unique. We have our, some things of ourselves we sometimes are not too happy about. Some things we embrace, but that's who we are, and we don't want to be frustrated by that. So that's a little bit of that. So let me say a little bit first about what do I mean by altruism. That sounds like a pretty powerful, strong word, altruism. You're not selfish. You're thinking of others. You're not worried about, what that means. There's extreme altruism. We might say somebody like Gandhi, he just thought about others. He thought about freedom. He thought about the well-being of others, and it was 24 hours. It may be the person, every Saturday they're volunteering at their church, at their mandir, at the food bank. They're going to the homeless shelter. They're donating X amount of monies to a certain cause. They're giving up their career to just devote themselves. That's extreme. And great, we want people like that. But I don't think that's practical in a day-to-day. So let's change the word of altruism to just being nice. All of us know about that. That's not hard. We're all nice. Every one of us on this, this morning, we're all nice people. We do nice things. But this is where I want to make the difference. That is your normal baseline of niceness. You wake up in the morning, you hug your wife, you say hi to your kids, you walk into work, you say, how was your weekend to a coworker and all. That's your normal baseline. So what my theme and suggestion is going to be now, you are going to do one thing more above your baseline. So you're walking in your neighborhood, and we're all walking now as, and we've, that's been one of the benefits, I think, of this COVID. Certainly here in Southern California, fantastic weather, walking every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. As I've tried to change my way, I will maybe say one nice thing that I might not have on a normal basis. I may have waved and said hi, hello, but if that's your norm, you must do one thing above that. And nobody's to say, oh, that doesn't qualify or not. You just, whatever you think. It can be at home. So you're at home, it's the evening, you're thinking, oh, did I do my nice thing? It's just like brushing your teeth. Oh, you're not going to forget to brush your teeth before you go to bed. You're not going to forget to take your medicine. So, oh, did I do my nice? If you're asking yourself that, you may have done it, but do one thing. And maybe to your spouse, because she's the only one with you at that moment. Or if you have your cell phone, it could be, oh, I'm going to just text somebody, making sure it's like East Coast, West Coast, time-wise. Thanks for sending that letter and that email. You have done your altruistic / nice event for that day. So keep it simple, no overthinking. Now, what I think will happen, and again, I'm going to share what I've seen in myself over these 3 months. I think by the 7th day, it starts to become a little bit easier and a part of you. Again, you're not going to beat yourself if you say, oh my gosh, it's Monday. Did I do those things the last 3 days? I'm not sure. It's no big deal. But just your awareness, I may or may not have, that, will get you back on the road of doing it. Again, and when we open it up to Q&A, nice could be anything, within the house, and it doesn't have to be toward another person. It's just something you internally did that was a good thing that you may not have always done on a regular basis. So what I would tell Gandhi, if he was here, it's from the morning you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're focused on that. But I challenge you, maybe at the end of the day, one more thing. And why I think that's important. And I'm going to really it's not just for your well-being, but all of the other things you engage in, your exercise, your enjoyment of reading, your enjoyment and passion at work. I think all of these secondary things are going to start to be enhanced as you incorporate this aspect of being nice / altruistic. Everything in your life, I think, will start to get the benefit of that. I think we have a few young people here. Let's say, I want to, that goal and aspiration, let's get the best grades. Let's go into the top college. Let's get into great graduate school. Many of us are business owners. Let's make our business more successful, more profitable. These are all good things. We don't shy away from this. I want to have even a richer relationship with my girlfriend or my wife or my kids. I truly believe that within 7-14 days, those things will start to get enhanced. It doesn't mean you automatically become a millionaire. We're in the motel industry. Your motel is packed. There's no vacancy, round the clock, and but I think you are planting the seeds that there's a higher likelihood that those things are going to come. So this is not just for yourself. I think the things you're engaged in are going to all, go to a different level. And I really think it happens quick. Little subtle changes, you may not even know that. I think within 7-14 days can happen. So we'll come back to that altruism and then the second concept is interpersonal connection. I think every one of us agree, and this is, webinars like this, being connected to other people, the conventions we've had, from way back, first one in Toronto, and I know now things are on hold for many years, but and certainly for the people that are more seniors in our community, the richness of those conventions was the interpersonal connection. I think that's what we remember as people. I'm a pretty nostalgic person. I am finding myself as I get older, I go back to, elementary school, thinking about my teachers, my classmates, high school, college, medical school. Last year, I had my 40th high school reunion right here inside. And for 1 year, I was just, okay, it's going to be so, seeing these people, because they're the old memories and those connections, they really stay with us. Last weekend, I had my medical school reunion. We did virtual, and people that couldn't make it are now like connecting, and because interpersonal connection, I think, is what makes us unique as humans. Uh, when you talk, last week when Jay was sharing life is beautiful and all, and I was listening because I was thinking about what am I going to talk about today. I think the theme of everything he shared was the connection to people. And that doesn't mean, some of us are, more gregarious, and we are, we're just easy, just people. But all of us, even the most introvert and shy, interpersonal connection. And in fact, I would venture to say that shy, person who sometimes is not comfortable reaching out, when they do make a connection, that has so much value and impact in what they're doing, in their schooling, their work, whatever their interests are. It will take that to another level, because that is a connection that they will keep reflecting back on. Wow, when I talked to so-and-so or met that cousin, and we spent a few times, they're going to remember that more than maybe many of us who might be more comfortable in connection, because it may not be as a unique phenomenon. So that's now. So let's bring it to the day to day. Interpersonal connection is as simple as doing one connection to another person above the normal of what you do. So in other words, you're taking that walk in the neighborhood, and you've maybe seen a person, another family walking by. It's as simple as that hand rising and that wave. And that is, and it doesn't have to be verbal, but somebody acknowledged, you saw somebody and you made a connection. And you may be doing that a lot, in your walks, or you go to the grocery store, at your business, at your work, but you do one more above what you consider your normal amount of interpersonal connection. And let's bring it back into the home. We may not all have the opportunity of getting out. You can do that within the home. That's one more connection to your family member, saying something about maybe that it can be nice or not nice, but it's some actual effort of making a connection to them. It can happen via the text. A family member, East Coast, family member just on the other side of town, just saying, hope everything's going well. I remember 2 weeks ago you mentioned that you were thinking about doing this. Hope that went well. That's an interpersonal connection, in this time of technology. I think real life is better, but that you made that effort and you connected to somebody. Again, let's go back to, science and research. There has been enough data, and these are like large studies, well beyond anything I've just shared here, where altruism and being nice to others and connection have shown within the brain, the brain's sort of connectivity is much stronger in people who have that as part of their regular well-being. It's also shown, like, for memory, for Alzheimer's disease. Those, one of the things today, if you, begin to, your doctor is evaluating you, or there's a specialist in memory change, yes, they look at blood pressure and cholesterol, and make sure your hearing and vision is good, that you're exercising and all. But one feature that seems to be at the very top of who keeps their memory, more sharp are those who have interpersonal connection and have had some aspect of unselfishness and being nice to others. So there's clear a heart disease. Social connection seems to be less. There are even data now within cancer in other areas. And now, and again, I just learned this past week. We would think, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, Bill Gates is a pretty introverted person. He didn't have a whole lot of friends and all, but he was giving a lecture at Columbia about 2 years ago. And one of the students asked, looking back now, what do you really reflect on that you think was one of those springboards? And he said, when I would help others in high school and all that weren't getting it, that still sticks in my mind. And he didn't quite say it in that. I think that was a springboard for my creativity and all, but indirectly, I think he was reflecting back on some of those connections when he reached out and helped somebody that was some springboards. So let's come back to business. Kids who want to get in the best schools, get the best grades. Again, we're Kadwa Patidar, some, engineering, medical school and all, great things. Push your kids. I go the opposite. I have no problem with pushing, directing, butting heads, say you are who you are. And that's, there, but if you embrace these two parts, I think the receiving end here is going to hear it much, much differently. So again, those two themes of altruism and interpersonal, and I think no one here would disagree with that. Yes, being connected to others, you feel good about that. You learn so much from others, but use that analogy. When you board an airplane, what does the flight attendant say? If we have a, run and is an emergency or oxygen level, put the mask on yourself first before you put it on your children or others around you. And I have become a believer of that. We are great at giving advice. I am too, and I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end. I mean, some of this advice is just, do this. People get, but if I take care of myself, I think that is the best help I can do to the people right around me. My children, my Tuhina, my wife, my immediate family, my co-workers. Now, these two themes I shared, I really think we can do that in 15 seconds, 30 seconds every day. As I said, we're all doing that, but my introduction of what I believe is the next step to enhance our well-being is to do one more of each of those things once a day. And as you continue to hear from these other leaders in the field and people in our community who really embrace this, listen to that in the theme of what they're talking about. And I think it will be universal in all of those areas. Now, let me then, if that becomes part of who you are, and again, 7 days that you've incorporated this, I am also the believer in that will then have impact on people around you. And let me just share what I've seen within my family, because that's who I've been around these last 3 months. When I've now made an effort, again, it's not a natural piece of me. I'm still thinking, okay, does that count as a nice thing or not? I'll say I did something and I'll say, I'm going to count that because I probably wouldn't have done that. So it's probably just to give myself satisfaction for that day. But what have I noticed in the family around me? And then again, other nice thing of COVID, I think it's brought, at least within my family, you know, our ability to spend time together, eat together, slow down. Tuhina has said, you know, and I've joked with her, you know, have a t-shirt, thank you, COVID. It's slowed life down. It's allowed, you know, maybe working from home, spending time with family. But I think what I've also observed is part of what I'm saying, if you practice it, I think it begins to spread to the people around you. And all of us as humans do have a responsibility for our fellow mankind. I think this is the most ultimate responsibility we can have, is if we show and expand our niceness and connection, and it rubs off on others. And then from there, it rubs off. So what I'm sharing today is not to say we have to teach, you know, our kids and yes, we can mention something we're excited about and that we feel these are two qualities that we're excited about embracing. But if we actually do it, that is much more powerful than like a seminar saying, you know, here are things you can do in your life. And if you meditate every morning and then take that walk and eat more fruit and more vegetable, do 20 push-ups, you know, in the middle of the day, take that walk. Good suggestions. But if somebody who is intimately involved in your life sees those changes, it just happens. I mean, again, and that's where that power of being a human being, the changes around you begin to happen. And again, I have seen that in, you know, one of our sons is staying with us right now, older, just a few miles away, so is home all the time. But the three of us who are all together, I've clearly seen sort of a change in demeanor and so forth. Not, I mean, they're seeing my excitement, like, you know, in preparing for this, I was like saying, that's what I'm going to talk about. And they're probably, you know, hearing it and maybe, but I think more the action is much more powerful than the words. So, you know, I almost see it like, let's come back to the analogy of the coronavirus. You know, it's a virus that spreads. You know, we've now mastered, you know, don't wash your hand. I mean, wash your hands often, don't touch your face, social distance, wear the mask. We've gotten good at that. We've got to stop the spread. This other virus, we want to spread. So you don't wear a mask. You, again, we're not going to shake hands. You reach out. So this is an opposite virus to handle this mental health potential pandemic, that not just because of COVID, but, you know, our lives have been changing. You know, you do see more people, you know, what do I want out of life? What's my goal? You know, have I been satisfied with where I am now and where I go forward? So this virus of being nice and interpersonal connection, we're going to spread it. And the best spread is, you know, incorporating it within yourself, and it is going to spread. I think Jay last week, you know, mentioned the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, which again came out like 25 years ago, and there were so many editions. One of the chapters that he wrote about, I think in his very first book, was if you do one nice thing to another person, I don't know if he said nice or whatever, it really spreads. And he felt, again, no research, within 30 days, the world could change. Because I'm doing one nice thing to someone, that person may remember it, may not remember it, but let's say 5% of the 100 people I did a nice thing to remember it, they might spread it. And he truly felt within 30 days, the world could change, because it goes global. I mean, it spreads much faster than coronavirus. It has no borders. So that's the excitement that, you know, I've had in these last 3 months, sort of, you know, recalibrating where I've been, where I want to go. It's, I think we always hear, you know, be in the moment, you know, don't think too far ahead. But again, it's easy to say those words, and I think few are really successful at always being the moment. You know, I'm one, I always plan, okay, what do we do next? And it's not always a good thing. Like you know, I won't be happy until, you know, this happens at my work, or I get this promotion, or my kid gets into this program. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to be honest with myself. I'm going to always, you know, go for a goal. And that, you know, the great experts in well-being would say, you know, you're going to often be unhappy and because you're looking ahead, but you know, it is what it is. I don't think I'm going to become a guru or this great, you know, meditator goes up in the mountains and for a week and just cleanse their mind. I may try, but I don't think it's going to happen. The other thing I really want to impress, this is not just for adults. I think these concepts, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 95-year-old, you know, in their last maybe few months or few days of life, from the time you can think, and I think that can happen even younger, but let's say 3 to 5-year-old to the oldest, the embracing, did I do my nice thing and did I have an interpersonal connection? You know, again, if you learn these things earlier, hey, you get to benefit longer. But do not, again, don't beat yourself. You could be 60, 70, 80. This is fun. This makes life, you know, just, you know, full of, you know, just drive, ambition, and you know, it makes us real as human beings. Yeah, again, let me give an analogy back to our community. You know, we all like to cook, and you know, it's not just us, but most cultures. But you know, we know our culture. You know, cooking that meal and inviting. You know, I just think the richness in that process of cooking, and it becomes, I think, less of a chore and a rich, oh, I have to cook again and do the dishes again. And we, you know, I know in our house, you know, we're not great cooks, but when we cook, you know, it takes like an hour, hour and a half, and we eat in like 15 minutes. I just think that whole process brings more richness with these two values introduced to our life. Easier to get out of bed. Oh, we got to do our exercise. I haven't done my jumping jacks or push. That becomes less of a burden. So I can't think of one thing in life that doesn't benefit by that one extra activity per day of being nice and having interpersonal connection. I mean, maybe some of you might think, well, how does it, again, I was even thinking of an example. If I was overseeing a jail and like, let's say somebody life imprisonment or on, you know, they're on a, you know, they have the death penalty. If I was a jail warden, you know, yes, we're trying to, you know, rehabilitate this, it might be not possible, but I would say, you know, try this for a month. You know, just tell each of your inmates one nice thing and one connection. And it may be they're very mean, nasty, profanity, but it might be, okay, my nice thing is going to be, I will do one less profanity. I'll have 1,000 a day, but I'll do 999. Or I won't use as negative a word. Or I was going to punch that person. I still am going to want to punch them, but I won't do it to them. I'm going to punch these other 9. I think there's no human being that cannot benefit. So even the most dangerous, most criminal person, I think these are concepts that will enhance whatever program they're in. Whatever, let's say you have severe mental illness. I work with a lot of people with schizophrenia. Severe, you know, brain illness. They're psychotic, they're delusional. Even with that brain illness, I've tried to introduce this the last 3 months to the patients I'm working, you know, they'll talk about how miserable their life is, and it is miserable. Still, you're a human being. I want you to still consider And if they're not sure, I'll tell them, I want you to pick up the phone, call your brother who you haven't spoken with, or the doctor or your nurse, say, wave your hand. I think even the most severely ill or an individual we think would not benefit from this at all, we are surprised. I think changes can happen there. So those are some thoughts. I believe those two core aspects of who we are as humans, things we already do. If we, in these times where we've clearly seen changes and opportunities arise in where we want to be in our life, how we want to have relationships with our immediate family, we want to do, I think as a community, we're wanting to do our part in helping our society, be it making masks, supporting our co-workers. Most of us, are fortunate. We still have a well-being and economic stability. We're all thinking, we're part of this bigger community. We have a responsibility. I think this is an easy responsibility. Incorporate these two things, and the people who are struggling around us, they're going to see that. And even if they've lost their jobs, they're not sure where they will live and so forth. This aspect of their event, hopefully incorporating this, will allow them to have clarity in what their next step in their life may be. And so those are some thoughts. And a lot of this, just as I'm talking, these ideas have come to my mind, but I think we can maybe, we can open it up now, to our entire group here. What does NICE or Altra, or if people want to share, something that they've done in their life that they think, yeah, sort of fits that theme, and maybe how they've seen it, maybe change themselves and maybe their people around them. So Dushyant, yeah, and Alpesh, we can open it up.
Yeah, let me, it's amazing. It's really nice. And the way you present it, it's really good. I think what you are saying is really strike me also. And I'm sure everybody is enjoying that and realize that also. Like, I'm getting a couple of questions, but I just want to share one incidence of being nice to other people. Yeah. Yesterday, not me, but yesterday I was with my brother-in-law, who owns the Dunkin' Donuts, which is common in our community. But so he was mentioning, like, again, nowadays it's always drive-through, right? So what they are seeing is a lot of people are coming in a drive-through and they say, oh, I'm going to pay for person behind me. And that started kind of chain also. Yeah, as you mentioned, not everybody is going to do, but certainly you see more people are doing that way. So I think just though you don't know who is behind me, I don't know what his order, but I say like, hey, I'm just going to pay for it. And that started chain, and nowadays a lot of people are seeing this. So I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, definitely.
And
I think like talking to Rimal, that was beautiful. And I think based on what we talked about, Rimal really wanted this to be like really open. So like keep sharing those type of things. And it's really nice that we've got plenty of time for question and answers. But Rimal, as you feel appropriate, please chime in on every single one of these, because I'm sure you have so many more stories to share with us.
Yeah. Well, I like the Dunkin' Donut analogy. That's nice and concrete, but it, I think all of us, can sort of appreciate. A lot of us are, we're business people, and we, you know, aside from our professional career, you know, we have businesses. But let me just say, not only that individual who paid for their coffee or their donuts, you know, at the drive-through, they're probably a nice, like I said, they're probably, you know, let's call this a level, maybe a little bit higher level of niceness.
Yes.
It meant a lot to them. Now, that person who received that extra $5, $8 for the coffee, donut for the next, that person, it's going to have huge impact to them in how they approach their work. As they come in, it's not going to be, oh, another day of work. And that's how it is for a lot. I got to go to work today. They're going to come in with more energy. Their coworker behind them, who's, you know, maybe making the coffee and doing, you know, working, if, I don't know if Dunkin' Donuts is open that people can walk in now, but it's going to happen any minute. The coworkers are going to be impacted. Then the car behind them, oh, it's already been paid for by that car. They're gonna take that memory home, or if they're on their way to work. The virus has spread faster than the coronavirus. Yep. You've already spread that to 5, 6 people faster than if I'm 2 feet away from you and I cough on you and I'm positive. So that's a, you know, perfect example. And I would put that on the more extreme of being nice. So that's what I want to convey. That is a, you know, I put that in the upper 5% of that nice activity of the day. And that person doing that a few times. So I really bring this down to the basic. It could have been, they walk up, you know, they drive through, pay for their coffee and donut, and then they just give away, you know, have a good day to that person taking the money. That's going to have impact. That person, you know. Now, if you do that every day, every time you pick up your Dunkin' Donut, that doesn't count, because that's already you. You've got to then say, "Have a nice day," and, you know, please pass this on to your coworkers. Yep. There, you added that extra little word that counts as you're nice, that you can check it off.
Yep. I think Lalji Bhai has a question. Lalji Bhai, go ahead.
Yeah, Rimal Bhai, yeah, there's a little, I'm not in that many social groups, yeah. But some of the social groups my wife is, and sometimes I overlook it, and I don't mind like a innocent nuisance, but sometimes they just put like a completely false information. And it's very hard for me to hold back. So I'm not in that group, but I have way around, because I made up my own broadcast group where everybody else in that group is in there. So I send the message, and then I feel bad that why to offend the people. But sometimes it's such a outrageous lie that I cannot just ignore it. Okay. And then I go to my people, like I go to Dushyant once in a while. Dushyant, what should I do? Just ignore it? But, you know, I can't help myself, and then I feel sorry. Then, you know, so what should I do?
Okay. And you know, I think I'm reading your mind, because let's say you're probably in your wife's social group, as they talk, you know, week to week or twice a week. So much is coming about, advice about COVID. You know, if you do this and you breathe this way, and you on the hot tea kettle, the steam comes out and you take the steam in. You're thinking something like that. You're hearing as you're walking back and forth. They're all sharing, and some are getting excited by this. Is that something like that?
You know, that's a nuisance. I can deal with it. But somebody says there is like a military coming in New York City and blocking down everything, and there is machine guns there, and there are cops there with the military with the guns out there. And it's wrong, and you know, should I ignore it, or just I respond it?
Well, I'm not going to say what you should do, but here's an idea that comes to my mind with the themes that I shared. Okay, come back. You know, I'm trying to reframe that into like altruism and nice and interpersonal connection. maybe it's not appropriate at that moment when they're sharing all this, but I think, and I'm doing this more, I'm thinking of you, not your wife, because we take care of ourselves. I think it would, afterwards saying, when I heard that, and again, your job is, I don't say job, but I think there's much value in your sharing. That was a little bit, when I heard that, I don't think that's correct. I mean, that just seems like, all of you, just sharing your, like a false belief or idea. And I don't think it's to correct them, but I think the value in the interpersonal connection is that you sat down and, it could be, half a minute, 1 minute. When I heard that, I don't, that doesn't seem right to me. That, and not to get like, convince her to change her way of thinking, but that you felt comfortable in sharing what you observed and what you are experiencing. I think that's a very nice activity too. That it's nice, you're not going, your job is not to convince her that what she was saying or believing or the group was right or wrong. But you felt, comfortable, and this is a connection. The person we're going to have most interpersonal connection with is our wife. So the theme of what I said is we're going to do one more connection with our wife above what we normally do every day. So this would be your interpersonal connection. You would sit down, maybe at dinner, maybe when you're taking your walk, you're watching a movie, or before the movie starts. You say, I heard yesterday, during, it doesn't seem, that's not what I think is really happening. I think you all are just, jumping on each other. But it's what you're thinking. You're not going to try to convince her that, no, you guys are all false. You got a connection, and I think more times than not, because you don't have a good agenda of changing her, that's going to be a nice gesture.
Okay, I will work on it. I will work on it. Good advice. Thank you.
Don't think of it as work. Just, go for it.
Okay.
Make it nature. Make it nature. Yeah. So we have one question. After implemented gallbladder open surgery, recovered, but one kind of stress does not release from mind. What will happen with that now, and how to handle that?
Okay. So after open heart surgery, stress.
Gallbladder surgery.
Oh, gallbladder surgery. That the stress that has maybe emerged after that, it's not going away. And how do I? That's an easy one. Again, in my mind, I think those two things. Stress, anxiety. My guess is most people who experience that after an event, they have aspects of that before the event. Most of the time, certainly you can have an event in life that really changes who you were before that. That can certainly happen. But usually when there are events in life that bring up more anxiety and more stress and more worries, we had aspects of that in our personality, who we were before the event. So don't beat yourself would be my first thought in having stress, worry, and anxiety. But I would then say incorporate these two things we talked about. Forget the gallbladder, that's irrelevant. I think if you do incorporate, that one extra piece of being nice, doing something beyond what you normally would do in a day toward, again, it's much easier, I think, within your family because you're seeing them regularly. Could be work, could be a neighbor, and then having one extra connection. That clearly, again, the world of science has shown when we work with people who do have truly anxiety disorders, panic disorders, yeah, there may be a medicine or not, but this is an important, we help somebody get connected to others. You start to see anxiety, stress may not go away, but we have much better perspective. It doesn't really control us. our life is able to go on. So again, back to the simple recommendations of today. Think about, okay, I want to do one nice thing today. I want to also have one extra interpersonal connection. I think the person who shared that question, I do feel by the 7th day, they will see a little bit less anxiety and stress than they had, day 1. And the hope would be it then becomes a more part of their who they are as an individual, and that will help. Again, this doesn't mean you got to go meditate. You got to go to the mandir. 15 seconds per day devote to this. You got it. So that I would say the same thing to that person, with or without that surgery.
One more question. What if you try to be nice to other, and in back of my mind thought is a fear how opposite person may take it or how he may not take it this way?
And we all have that. I mean, when I walk in the neighborhood, I'm going to take a walk in a little while. If I approach somebody, because this is not what we normally do, they might think, I think it's a little bit less today, 3 months into COVID, but 4 months ago, if I approach a stranger and say, hi, how are you? The initial reaction is, or in my mind is, or, they're going to say, are you trying to get something from me? You're a stranger. Even though you don't look, you look like you're well dressed, and I'm not going to be afraid of my safety. I say that is something we can have that worry in our mind, but by that 7th day, that perception will change. So don't fight that perception. That's okay. Like, are they going to think I'm some stranger? I'm some weirdo, saying hi to them and like smiling at them and saying, wow, your kids seem so happy. You're all walking together and it's great to see. I didn't know you live in this neighborhood. They might think, they might not be very comfortable with it, but I will guarantee you, and guarantee with a capital G, and we love guarantees, it's going to have some impact on that person. It may be, they'll think about that for a few seconds. They may think about it, later on when they go back home, but it will have some, so I say, trust yourself, trust that this won't be the same day 2, day 5, day 7, and then trust that you're going to see some changes take place within yourself. And like I said, you can force this. You can be selfish on this, and you can say, I'm doing this just because Rimal Bera said, my business is going to start being more economically, enhanced. I'm gonna have the better bottom line at the end of the month. That I have no. I mean, that's all right to it doesn't just have to be out of the goodness. All the things you do will start getting better.
And more like this is, can you advise how to tackle a fear of communication to receiver will be correct, it will be received correctly or not, and how it will be taken by receiver? I think he is kind of feeling the fear that, okay, if I do nice, how that person will take it.
And we don't know. We really don't. They may get angry. Let's go to one extreme. Let's assume that they won't punch you and physically hurt you. But I would say, aside from that person not being physically aggressive to you, it doesn't really matter. Again, we're going to get hurt if they yell at us. In all likelihood, that's going to make us say, what Rimal Bera said, forget it. I tried it today, and that person yelled at me. Again, let's hope a vision came to my mind. Let's say they spit at you. That's physical. That's dangerous. But anything below physical, I would say you were successful. That angry person who then looked at you like, you foreigner, you know, you don't, let's say you don't belong in this country. Let's take it to extreme. You still had impact on them because you did something that was out of the ordinary, even for them. They responded in the only thing they know how to respond. Anger, you know, I lost my job. Who knows what's going on in their head? They're not a happy person, I would assume, if they respond angrily. But you have begun to maybe have some impact. That person is going to remember that. My Indian neighbor, my Indian friend said that. They've never talked to me, but they said that. Are they making fun of me? They know that my kids are not as successful as their kids. Again, I'm just thinking outside the box. And they say, who knows? I tell you, it still had some impact for them. And I'm going to tell that whoever asked the question, because I would not like that kind of response. You don't expect that. But the fact that they did that,
I think, Rimal bhai, your video is paused. Hello, I think.
Must have gotten bugged. Give him a second.
Yeah. Oh, your video was, Rimal bhai, your video. Now it's better.
Yes,
we can
okay, sorry. So, again, I don't think for every single example, but I'm going to encourage that person. This was such a powerful connection, though be it negative. And negative connection has more value, I think, than positive connection in some way. What we learned from that, you're going to still do your other connection, every day, you're going to keep that going. You might then retreat and say, let me just do it within the house for a while with people that I know that it won't. Perfectly fine. I would probably retreat back because it would have been such a traumatic experience. Come back, do it with my wife, my kids, maybe my family, and then you're going to probably venture out again.
Yeah. So with the same, how you should handle the rejection of niceness and expectation. I think same thing you explained.
Yeah, I don't like the word rejection. I think if somebody gets angry at you or upset by something you did or said to them, rejection doesn't seem like the right word. I still think there's something so positive about what you perceived as they were angry, hostile, negative, yelled back at you. I don't see that as rejection. I don't think I would like that, and I would be bothered, and it would maybe disturb me for the rest of the day. But I think if we can step beyond that, and that there must have been some impact on that person, something was triggered. That person may have still the capability at some point later in the day to reflect on, beyond that anger they had toward what you said. And then that yourself, that you can tolerate, you're not going to go back in your shell. And again, that's extreme. None of us are in a shell, but that you're not going to retreat, that you will learn that still was a connection. So I don't think we want to live life by everything we do, results in where we wanted it to be. That would be a boring life, I believe. If everything works out and it's always smooth and we don't have any of these bumps in the road. Yeah.
So there is another question. It's not like on anxiety or something. It's more like on a depression side. Sometimes we kind of know we are in depression and what's going on. In the back of the mind, we understand what is going on, and we have to be positive. That also there, but we cannot make change. how to handle or what to do in that situation.
Sure. Now, certainly, again, I think we have many, physicians in our community, and within families, we all, if somebody has like a true, low mood, unhappiness, sadness, I mean, professional evaluation. Sometimes we need, professional evaluation for help, direction, guidance, treatment, I'm not just saying medicine treatment, but so that, we don't want to just, minimize that. Some help may be very helpful, but I'm going to, come back to those same principles. And it may be very different. And I can appreciate somebody in a true depression. This is more of a challenge. But in whatever level, it may be very different. It is different than somebody that is not depressed. That concept, okay, I still want to try to think of what was conveyed. One nice thing. And that one nice thing may be, in your state of depression, unhappiness, you're staying in your room, you're not coming and eating with the family, that you maybe just waved and you said hello to a fellow family member, because, again, I'm envisioning, you're not coming out of the house, you're not interacting. That's a very nice gesture, that you've done something on that nice level. The interpersonal connection maybe, assuming in that depressed, that lower mood, your connections have decreased significantly. You're not going out of the house, you're not connecting with family, friends. Maybe if you're still working, you're just going to work like a robot doing your things. If you can, even in that state of low, one connection, above that. Now, and the family, I think in states where there are, some mood is, there is some responsibility. Where the family could help is the gentle reminder, because family is probably getting frustrated. They're saying, why can't you snap out of this? Things aren't that bad. We're still, well, but, the mind is powerful. When you get depressed, you just can't snap out of it. So family responsibility might be, let's still use those two principles, and we'll focus our part onto that individual, the act of nice and connected. We will do our best to not be bitter and angry and hostile, toward that individual. I think that will have impact. Even that depressed individual, as I was saying earlier, these skills, are universal. As long as somebody can speak their mind, this can have impact.
Yeah, and there are two questions, both are kind of same subject. Like, what can you please advise on how to be mentally strong during this quarantine situation, and what is the best way for seniors to stand? Usually active around the family a lot was hard for many of our parents in the beginning, and now also taking too much advice from WhatsApp or others say is not getting more accurate information, and that creates a more muddling pot. So how to handle this kind of situation?
Sure. Again, I come back to that principle. Don't change who you are. We all have our personalities, and we may, again, a lot of us, we use that word, like type A personality. We're like go-getters, we're organized, we want everything to work. Don't feel, or don't beat yourself. You look at WhatsApp, you're looking at the internet all the time. Oh, this is happening in politics. This is what, everything's so polarized, that's who you are, and that's where we are as a world to some degree. So let it be. If we're a domineering parent or a domineering, like I think Jay was mentioning last week, and there were some questions, What about like mother-in-laws or father-in-laws living in the home? We're all together, there's this tension. You're probably not going to change that other person. That probably, it can happen, but the reality, you know, especially as we get older, you know, you might have a little subtle change or this, but the core is who we are, those same two principles. I want the most elderly, you know, even if your English is not good, you're only speaking Gujarati, you don't quite, you know, the grandkids are, you know, they seem too westernized or modernized, and that's all, you know, side. The most elderly of our community who are at home, those two principles, you know, I think they might even be more excited about embracing. Okay, have I done my one nice thing for today? Above and beyond what they normally do. So let's say they normally, you know, are, you know, babysitting the grandkids, cleaning the house, cooking, dishes, you know, whatever they're doing. That's their normal. They do one more thing above that. And one more connection. It could be they're not that comfortable walking outside neighborhood, you know, the neighbor. Maybe there's a suggestion to them. Well, here are some things that might, you know, qualify. You know, they think of it, great. But we can suggest to them, you know, how about, you know, I don't think you met our neighbor, John. Just go outside. They know that, you know, sometimes you wave, but how about every day you go outside, you wave to one new neighbor. I think within a week, their embracement might be even stronger than all of us, let's say middle age, our kids, or, you know, even young kids. I come back to that word. I think we have a responsibility, you know, as a human being, wherever we are on this planet, to have those two, you know, have those two qualities, and become part of us. I don't know if that quite answers that question, but it doesn't matter. You know, you speak English or not. You're the most desi person or the least desi person. I mean, this is something they're going to get more out of it. I mean, you know, I can't, like, if a young adolescent who, you know, in their relationship with their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're studying and trying to balance all this and what parents want of them and all, if they were to embrace these two things, I think their perspective, it still may not agree with parents, but it'll be more like, it'll be more true for them. And many young kids, I mean, they're embracing these concepts of being connected to others and all in a different way maybe than an older generation, but you know, there's no definition that it has to happen in this way or that way.
Yeah. And actually we got one comment also, and I would like to comment on that.
Yeah.
The fact is, people never change unless they choose to change. Personally, again, I want your opinion, but I just want to say personally, that is not 100% true. I think it may not change overnight. It's not the flipping the switch.
Yeah.
But I think over time, once what you are suggesting, if you do that, person does change. What is your take about that?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think you're right. You can't just flip a switch. I come back still to that concept. Don't beat yourself by who you are as a person. You know, myself, you know, I always find myself, oh, listen to what that person did in their life, and, you know, how they, you know, achieved this success. And, you know, I wish I could do something like that. I often find my mind wandering toward, I want to do something grand. You know, I want to do something that has huge impact and all. Look, that person was able to do it. You know, I know within our family, we'll often like tell our kids, you know, what that person did, and that, you know, I think it's okay to give them, but, you know, that's what that person did. So coming back to your question about change, I think there's some truth that there might be times in our life that there are events that help us in making that change. I do think this COVID-19 is one opportunity that many of us, including young people, older people, are having an opportunity to sort of, recalibrate. But I think these changes were already core parts of them. It's not like they transformed. They had these qualities. And I think every human being, even that mass murderer, has some, what percentage, I don't know, where in their DNA, I don't know, of social connection. And they might not call it nice, but doing something towards somebody is there. Again, they unfortunately, killed somebody, but they have something there in their being as a human. So I like to then say, and let's be very concrete. We're business, if you're a business person, it's the bottom line. I want to make more money this month than last month. I like that. That's not greedy. That's not thinking of your fellow person. That's not, oh, I'm raising the prices. Hey, go for it. You worked hard. But if you embrace these other two things, I think it may enhance that bottom line and that income and that revenue and your coworker satisfaction, your employee satisfaction. Your stress of micromanaging day-to-day activities at your business, I think will go down. So that's not selfish. Making more money, buying more properties, that's creativity. Not being there every night for dinner at home because you're working at work. You're not being ignoring. You're maybe very creative. You got work to do at work. But if you incorporate those other two things, I think you're going to feel less pulled all over the place.
Yep. Kishore Bhai has something to say. Kishore Bhai, please go ahead.
I'm on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Kishore Bhai.
Hi. Hello, Rimal. Hello, Dushyant Bhai, Alpesh Bhai, and Parag. Thank you. No, it's just a few things. I like the format and I like Rimal's thought. This all things in our own life is always work in progress. There's a change happen every single second, you down and up and so forth. And I always thought that nice has a two-part of impact. One, say nice and do nice. And sometimes I want to share one thought. I have one patient who came as, he's a kind of a macho mean guy, came because he has some blood pressure high. So he came in my office, and while I entered in the room, he was wearing his handkerchief or mandina on the mouth and not covering the nose. So I told him, I said, you are not properly wearing your nose and mouth cover. That's concept, because otherwise you're breathing virus out and you're breathing virus in from our office. So he said, this is not, my type, and this is too small. And so I went out, and he thought that I'm upset, and I went out. So I bought my mask and give it to him. And I said, I will put you on. This is where, put your handkerchief in your pocket. It's just instantly happened. I'm not trying to prove that, I'm the nicest person on the world. But I put a mask on him, and then on the way, he asked the receptionist, do I have to pay? I told him, no, you don't have to pay. But anytime you see other people not wearing properly, tell them nicely, said, cover your nose and cover your mouth. I think that is a story impact that probably he will remember this and do it. So this instantly comes, whether it's your children, other, so forth. Interconnection, I always has a fear as getting from young age. Sometimes you don't talk to other people, you think they may not like it. You have all this barrier in your life that he may not like it. But in my mind, if your heart is pure, or your feeling is to impact someone without your benefit, they always will take it. And if a punchline comes on the way because they don't like it, then you say, sorry, I didn't mean it, and you walk out, because then you go for person number two. So this is what all interconnection. And regarding COVID-19, my comment is this, that COVID-19 or any event individual in a person's life, counties or state emergency like earthquake, or worlds like this pandemic, is like a cancer. You have a two treatment. One is, which we know, or here is cover mask, wash your hand, and someday we get vaccine. That is your responsibility, your work. And second part is your faith. Like doing chemo, while you are in a chemo table and taking chemo, you are praying. So if you keep that, no neglect, you take the action which is given by everyone and saying it. And then second, have a faith, have a trust, and that probably take care of you. I think the rest of Rimal said a lot of things and very helpful. If you have stress, anxiety, depression, I always said one more story, and I like it. I use that for my patient. I said, for very young daughter or son, any stress comes, that's every answer is from mother, ma. And I always share this story. The little girl goes to see the circus with the mom. They are in front row, and somehow from the cage, the lion comes out. Daughter jumps and hugs mom, but not having a fear. So this lion is like a death or threat, but she was not having fear. Same girl, in her house, little girl, mom goes to pick up the mail, and she started talking to the neighbor, and took so long. When she came in, daughter was crying. He said, what happened, honey? He said, Mom, I didn't see you. I was afraid. I said, this is our house. So when we grow up, we don't have any mother figure. He said, oh, I'm a doctor. What my mom is going to tell me? I'm an engineer. I know what science works. You are having a wrong concept. At this point, your faith, whatever you believe in, whether you see it or not believing it, but if you have it, it will always take stress out. It will always take anxiety and depression out. And you, as Rimal said, you ask professional if you see a sign of depression or anxiety from COVID or anything. But you have to, and even you can preach that to your family and say, this is whatever you Christian or Hindu, whatever you have available literature, you do it, and things turn around. And that's how I have to, share this thought. But it was wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Kishore Bhai.
I like to share one thing with this COVID. Again, as I'm not different also. As it started, I was stressed out also. But as it goes back, I think I would like everybody to think since you become professional or you end your school life, this is the first true vacation you ever got in your life. You don't have to do anything. Yes, you are stressed out, but take it positive. You are able to spend time with family, and you cannot do because whole world is shut down. So you have time to spend time and relax. I bet you never relax such way in your whole life for this many days, doing nothing and staying at home and spend time with family. Even we have very good relationship, nothing wrong. But when my teenager, my 16-year daughter said, Dad, with this COVID, I think I feel like we get more closer.
Yeah.
So I think you get stressed out, but I would say just let it go and take it. Absolutely. What really you got out of this. That's my personal.
Yes, yes. Positive impact.
Looks like I have a question too, Rimal Bhai.
Yes.
Looks, as we're waiting for any more any more last questions, what is it that like kind of prevents us from being so focused when we're in situations like this? And I'll just give you like some of my examples and thoughts. You know, it doesn't look like this is going to go away anytime, you know, soon, or it could come back, or, you know, I think we'll have to brace ourselves to kind of live in this environment for, you know, the near future. But, you know, you see, you have like almost two schools of thoughts. You have most people that, you know, when they're home right now, they're just getting really antsy. They're like, when is this going to stop? I don't have anything else to watch on Netflix. You know, it just, you know, we need to get out, right? And then, but, you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and we all pray that this ends tomorrow and we can go back to our lives. But just as Dushyant Bhai, you know, talked about, there's a lot of silver linings in this, where, you know, we, you know, hopefully even when we walk out of this, we walk out with some new learnings and some new practices. But, you know, there's so much to do now. And everybody is very, you know, just focused on when does this end? What they watch the news all the time. They're seeing like, when's the lockdown ending, when it's not ending. And I travel a ton, like Dushyant Kumar travels a ton too. I travel a ton. So it's really nice to, you know, wake up in the same bed, be with the family and the kids. And, you know, I've, you know, over the past 15 years, I've never done this. And, you know, we're excited about that. And it's the same when we travel. You know, when I'm in a plane next to somebody, you know, everybody's like, when is this thing going to land? 6-hour flight, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I usually try to think to myself, well, I've got 5 or 6 hours, I can get a lot done. So that when I land, you know, that's work I've gotten done. And I just think to myself is, you know, I'm just fast forwarding when we do get out and we start going over to people's houses and going out to places. I'm sure there's going to be, you know, you call somebody and say, hey, we're doing this. So, you know, the response is going to be like, oh, I weekend to nahi awa, ghare etlu badhu kaam chhe na. It's just like, why can't we make the most of where we are, stay focused so that we can come out of a situation better? But it requires a lot of focus, you know, just, this is where we are. This is what the circumstances is. Let's make the most, whether we're doing housework or, you know, personal relationships, like Dushyant Kumar said, there's just so much that we can do even in this environment. And sometimes we can't, you know, focus on that.
Yeah. No, those are great points, Parag. What struck me was, you're absolutely right. When we do get through this and life gets, you know, back to normal, we're going to return to where we were a year ago. You know, it'll be, you know, I'm busy today, you know, can't come over today. I got to go to my work, long hours, back to that, you know, we'll fall back into, oh, not walking as much in the neighborhood, you know, oh, I'm going to do really good exercise every day, you know, and I'm listening to these meditation tapes. A lot of that is going to go by the wayside. Again, back to what, please, we don't want to beat ourselves because we'll say, oh my gosh, those 4, 8 months, 1 year, when I was every morning speaking to my dad or, you know, calling my brother. Now it's been a month. Oh my gosh, I haven't talked to them and we haven't gotten together. It's okay. I mean, that's going to happen, but there'll be little bits and pieces of things we learned here that I think will stay with us. And when we recognize that it slipped away, it'll come back easier. Because it's not like this was a 1-week seminar or a 1-week shutdown. This was a 3, 4, 5, and it'll have greater impact, I think, on our kids because their life has been shorter. They've had, so 6 months in a 14-year-old is very different than 6 months in a 70-year-old.
Yes.
They've been more, you know, their foundation has been more cemented. But there will be enough changes that will be permanent, or easily to get back to. So that would be one thought I would have, Parag. And then when we do it as a community, I mean, it's like your little piece of 5% and Dushyant Bhai's piece and Alpesh's piece and Janki down there's piece. we all, I mean, imagine, it takes a village. We're gonna, so when you see that, oh, they're still doing that, oh, it's gonna come back for you much quicker. So I say, don't worry. You'll get back to your 18 hours a day of work and then travel and, oh my gosh, I was back home I'm gonna just spend one more night in Baltimore, because I got another meeting in 3 days. I'll just stay here. I'll FaceTime. It's gonna happen, but I think it'll happen in a different kind of way. So we're gonna be all right. So I wouldn't overly worry, but and again, this thought just came to mind. I was at another seminar where it was for professionals we're now reaching the point of, homeschooling hasn't been as like glamorous as, and unfortunately it's the summertime now, but that's fortunate or not fortunate, but parents after the first 2-3 months who are professionals balancing working at home and taking care of kids and the home assignments, we learned a lot for the next time we'll have to do this. But this director of the seminar said, forget about homework and school, AP classes and all that for 3 months. If your kids can come out of this and they didn't say these exact 2 concepts, but they were talking, feeling more connected to the family, their neighbors, their friends, and comfortable in connecting with others. That's the best 3 months that they've ever had in their life, and they're never going to learn that again. It may be too late, we're now in the summer, but I think if we have that kind of mindset, what does 3 months, I mean, it's easy for us to say, my kids are, all older and they're not in elementary school or high school, easy to say, but I think that's the right concept. So let's not, like, we've got to have all these things done. They got to have the lesson done, SAT studying, this, that. It's, the education of altruism and interpersonal connection, that's going to stay with them forever. And they're going to achieve any goal they're going to have, probably more likely and much more richer. So those are some thoughts, Parag, on, yes, we are going to return, and let's not be disappointed. But we have learned enough that is going to stick. And we're going to get back to it if we lose that, it doesn't stick, it'll be easier to have it restick.
Yeah, and let's just make the most of the the opportunities that we have today, which are unique from the opportunities we had when things were normal. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
And I think down the road we may come back and say, gosh, was those 3 months was stressful at that time, but that was a good time also. Because we're gonna remember that, what we spent time with family and how relaxed time was. Right now we may not be value that with other stuff, but I think down the road everybody's gonna think back, that wasn't that bad. It was fun also. Yeah, it was tough, but still it was fun.
So this is a resurge we want to happen regularly and often. Yep. So keep the analogy to COVID. It's great. We want multiple resurges of this. Yeah. Oh, we don't want to develop a vaccine for this surge.
How we are handling is okay.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Kishore bhai.
Am I confused? No, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's all right. I think what Rimal said, no vaccine for stress, anxiety, just meeting like this. Yeah. And for true virus, let science take care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. One thing, as I mentioned, I think we will have next 2 weeks also. We have already planned out. Another thing, in the next email, we're going to send out, Lalji Masa has put out really nice instruction video, how to attend Zoom, not how to host, how to attend as a attendee. And it's a very nice video. We're gonna send out that tips for everybody. Just listen. It's amazing. It's in Gujarati, so even we can share with our elder parents also. And I would really thankful to Lalji Masa to take the time and create that video. We will share out. Please watch that also. Again, thank you so much, Rimal Bhai. This was amazing.
Thank
It's
you.
really eye-opening, and hope everybody enjoy out of that also.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a chance to scroll at all the people. I will end with I love my community.
Hey,
Absolutely, that was.
hey, Parag, hey, Dushan,
Yes.
are we going to back Amibai too sometime? Maybe we can hear the politics from one of us.
Yeah.
One of ours.
He will learn a lot from us. His re-elections, if that's what he wants, will become much more easier.
That's stressful.
That's true.
Govind Bhai, Govind,
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute. Govind Bhai, you're on mute.
Yeah, hold on. Let
Mama.
me.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Rimal Bhai, I have some nice closing question for you. You will enjoy it.
I will.
We know Rimal Bhai and family since 1973 because of Bharat Bhai Makadia from Bayawada. So I know if I see him under microscope or in a durbin, he's just great person. And he took his son, I don't know how old he was, to desert in our Jaswati National Park just for the camping in hot weather. So he's a great father ever since I know him. And his parents were freedom fighters. Ask among ourselves how many of our parents were freedom fighters. You will find very few. And his parents were, both of them were freedom fighters, and that's how they meet each other, and they got married too. That's a kind of secret story. Babu Bhai and his mother. That's how they know each other a long time ago. And the main thing now I would like to say is just like he said, giving, nothing is better than giving and helping other. We use big word donation. Donation is a big word, but if you remember the Mahabharat Patra, everybody know Karna and his bad thing, but still people are giving name of their family member Karna. He was the great, great, great donor and giver. So even in these days, people are think about him and take positive thing. So if you are giving to your family or somebody, unknown people, nothing is more satisfactory or medicine for you mentally than anything else, as far as my experience is concerned. And another hard question for Rimal is that in Corona, we are all afraid. I'm 73. And sometimes we are afraid of death. So how you make it easy? I'm telling my family member, Janki is there. I'm 73. And last my Indian trip, most of time I used to attend wedding. This time I attend 3 funeral personally and 2 after funeral. And I have seen people dying and I took them to all the way one time. I had to take it personally because their family member weren't there in that Sabvahini, and I have attended those. Nothing to fear about. Death is, especially when you are older like myself or anything, and there is no pain when at the end of the death or whenever you, whatever kind you are sick, there is nothing to worry about. There is no painful. Even somebody, give you big sword on your head, you may feel it, for a few seconds. Why we are afraid? Everybody is going to die. Why we are afraid of death? And after death, and I have visited those family after death, they were taking it easy and they say, he or she, they did their best and we did our best. And everybody has to go. So in Corona, I think if one of us has to go and we might not attend their funeral, think about positive. Save that saving and donate to some place else. Why we are afraid of death? So I would like to share your thought about death, especially why we are afraid of death. And now in these days, if you are sick or you are going to die, ambulance will come, and most of time, middle-aged or younger nurses will treat you, not gonna throw you anywhere. Just so please share your opinion.
I mean, you know, I maybe the word isn't afraid of death, but I think most of us don't want to die. You know, we want to continue living a full life. So maybe the fear comes from, we hope that we don't die at a time we think there's still more to our life that we want to live. So maybe somehow in our mind, we construct that of the fear, you know, that, oh, illness, this epidemic has arisen. I hope I don't get it, because like we're all learning what we discussed today, we're seeing the opportunities for changes in our life, and we want to have many more years or decades of these new things we've learned. So I hope that I may not catch it, that I may not die, because I think there's more to what I want to experience. And so maybe Govind Bhai, that might be, maybe for some people it comes out the fear of death, but for others it may be, you know, I have, you know, my family and my children and some aspirations myself. I want to still see if, you know, how those evolve. So I hope I don't catch it. I'm going to protect myself because I'm not ready for it. So maybe it's just, you know, how the word fear may be for one individual, but it may be a different term for somebody else.
Thank you.
But I would still say for that person on their deathbed, well, maybe that's but you know, that knows they have something terminal. I still think these two concepts, and maybe I'll do one more last thing on top of yours. And I heard this, again, COVID has made me, on my walks, I've been listening to a lot of Tony Robbins. A lot of people don't like him, but I like his way. He said he talked to Mother Teresa once, and Mother Teresa, this is when she came to Southern California. Some of you might remember. She came in like 35 years, 40 years ago, came here. So he got a chance to talk to her. And he told Mother Teresa, what makes you most happy? Because you always, it's hard to, what is the most happiest moment you have in your life? And what Mother Teresa told Tony Robbins was, the most happiness I have is right when somebody's about to die and they have a smile on their face. There's nothing more happy than that, seeing a smile on somebody right when they're dying. And isn't that, I mean, so powerful. So, you know, maybe that helps, you know, your thought, you know, the fear of death. You know, if we can all have a smile when we die, oh my gosh, imagine your legacy, seeing that smile. I mean, they're not going to be sad. Wow, they're going to get, their heart is going to become stronger in their mind. It's a pretty powerful statement that Mother Teresa said. It's not like going to the slums of Calcutta and maybe helping all. It said that smile on that dying person. Nothing more happy than that was. So I'm sure she probably wanted to put smiles on everybody who was dying. All right.
Okay, thank you everybody, and I hope you enjoy. Rimal Bhai, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts. It's really nice. We really
keep this all going. You know, you've got some wonderful programs, and I'm sure people keep sharing ideas to our
and that's what we are open for ideas. Please share your thoughts and let us know so we can try to arrange different topics, different thing, and we can move forward. Yeah.
I think you know, that we've got some great momentum. I know some people joined late, Dushan, but you just want to kind of go over the next couple of weeks again, just maybe in a little detail, so people are.
Yeah. So next week we are having a yoga class by Dr. Pradeep Kansagra and his daughter. So that will be the next Saturday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific time. And a week after that, which is on, hold on, let me keep my
13th.
date.
Go in the
Yeah, because nowadays it's hard to keep track of date and days.
Go in the you want to share anything regarding that?
Parag,
Not really, Parag. Yeah.
may I say something, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead, Lalji Master.
Also, you know, અમે અહીંયા ઘરે છે ને સત્સંગ કરીએ છીએ, તો મારો વિચાર છે કે આપણે જો કમ્યુનિટી બેઝ ઉપર સત્સંગ થઈ શકે તો આપણા ઘરડા માણસો અને ઘરમાં બેઠા હોય ને, અને એ છે તમારા સેટરડેના સ્કેડ્યુલમાં કોન્ફ્લિક્ટ નહીં થવો જોઈએ. મે બી આપણે ક્યાંય એકાદશીના દિવસે કે એવા દિવસે કરીએ, તો તમે વિચાર કરજો. So, you know, what you can come up with.
I think that's very noble. I think we should.
You know, I can handle the Zoom part, Parag. You know.
Yeah, Lalji Master is amazing. I have learned a lot from him also.
I think Tuesday આવે છે, right? આપણે Tuesday next Ekadashi છે. So let's consider. અમે internally વાત કરી લઈએ and we can somehow support that. That would be good.
આ એકાદશીની તો એના પછીની એકાદશી.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So like next week, which is on the 6th June, we will have a yoga class with Dr. Pradeep Kansagra and his daughter. And on the 13th, we're going to have again Jai Vasavda on Krishna, because a lot of people has asked for that. So we have this 2-week fix. So please look out for emails. We are in process of changing our website also. We're going to put our calendar on our website, so you can go to kpsna.org and directly get. It's not there, but it will come out soon. So we are working on that. Alpesh Bhai and Chetan is working hard to change that. So once that is done, we will share that also. So you can look at the calendar and you know what's coming in the next. But definitely we will share the information via email also. So thank you so much. Hope everybody have a great weekend and enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Rimal Bhai.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Everyone.